I'm Carol Kaufman, Director of the Institute of Coaching, and I'd like to introduce you to this month's masterclass on using the PERFECT, P-E-R-F-E-C-T, model of coaching. So what is this? Basically what I was trying to do when I came up with this is simply come up with some kind of organizational system so that when you're sitting with the client and it's really intense and you're thinking, what can I do to serve this person? What do they need? What resources can they pull on? Or what obstacles might be in their way? That basically you could try to pull on everything you have ever learned and call it through your mind at that moment. So first I think of P, what's going on a physical level? Would it help, for example, if the person accessed their physical resources better? Are there physical challenges that are getting in their way that they're not thinking of? Then on a more subtle level, how can you as the coach activate the parasympathetic nervous system, e.g. the physical part of someone where you respond through feeling more relaxed, engaged, and open versus feeling possibly more threatened or closed. And ways to do that are to really pull on positive emotions or strengths. So what's going on physically for the person is really important. At the same time, you can think about that for yourself. When you're about to head into a really big engagement or you have a tremendously challenging thing to write, what can you do yourself to make your physical resources be operating at their best? And what I'll do in a while, and one of the other snippets, is walk you through an example for me. So P is for that physical world. E is for the environment. When you're working with a client, what might be going on a systemic level that you could pull from? And what are the different tools or assessments that you already know that you could pull forward at a moment like that to use? So what is going on culturally? What might be going on in the organization's development? One place we have some interesting feedback on this is my podcast interview with Ann Schooler, who gives us a whole list of questions that she and her coaches use when they're trying to evaluate what's going on that E level. So check out that podcast. Then R. If E is sort of the impersonal environment, R is your relationships, the personal environment. So obviously with your clients, all the things that you know and can bring to them about managing up, managing peers, managing their direct reports, looking with their board, and what kind of relational resources might they be able to draw on that they aren't? And to think for yourself with all the tools that you know. You might be using the Myers-Briggs. That obviously really helps people in terms of understanding how others operate to improve their working and personal relationships. What are other assessments and what are other workshops and books you've read that will help you scan through what on a relationship level might be helping this person or getting in their way? So that's the R, P-E-R. F is for feelings. Again, what is the emotional profile of your client? What's the rhythm? For example, does your client, pop into a quick emotional reaction and then later go, what was I doing? Or are they really slow to rise and then they go up? What is their emotional rhythm, their profile? How can they increase their awareness about it? And how can they use it to serve their company, serve themselves, and serve their mission? What are the things on a feeling level? So this, of course, includes emotional intelligence. How do you recognize, understand, utilize, manage your relationships? It also taps on the whole field of positive psychology and the power of positive feelings, how those can enhance creativity, big picture thinking, and how you can use positivity to basically pop performance. So on that level, on the F level, that of course takes us back, loops back to the P level, for example. If you're helping people activate and access positive emotions, it changes what's going on in the brain, and you can ideally create kind of a positive feedback loop to basically help people perform better and feel more sort of centered and aware of the big picture. So that's PERF. E, okay, the letter E is a little of a cheat because I wanted to spell something. It's effective thinking. So for this one, what are the tools you have to help people understand how they think? What is it that they can do to kind of step back and look? Again, I think the Myers-Briggs is really good for this in terms of, are you a sensor or an intuitor? How do you understand other people? There's also the whole world of cognitive behavioral coaching, which I think is quite different from cognitive behavioral therapy. In this case, it's what is the ideal way to think? Yes, we want to look at what distortions might get in the way. So I think having some understanding of cognitive behavioral therapy and the 15 primary distortions is useful. But what's even more useful for us is also what is a lean, flexible, agile, cognitive style way to think that will serve the challenge that your client is facing. We have skills in coaching to do this, whether you call it helicoptering or whatever, where, do you want to have the overview of the hawk or the close-up of the hummingbird? What cognitive perspective will serve you most in this situation? Then we get up to C, continuity of past, present, and future. What I was thinking about here was what are the ways that we can work with our past? Coaches, simplistically people say, therapy's on the past, coaching's on the future. Well, it's not that simple, as any really experienced coach knows. But it's what you do with the past that's really very different. So in authentic leadership coaching, for example, we go back and help people identify what are their most painful experiences. But you don't go there for healing or for resolving deep grief. What you do from the coaching perspective is you really help them mine those crucible experiences for gold. Like, what are the leadership lessons you pull from this experience? Or what are the leadership lessons you can be pulling now from the difficult experience that you're facing? And help people develop an ideal relationship with their past, perhaps pulling on gratitude for people that have helped them. So there's many ways that as coaches we've got tools to pull from the past. But then there's the present. How can we help our client actively and most masterfully be in the present and use the myriad of choices that are flying by you in any moment? That's the present. The choices you make in the present can be pivotal. How can you attune yourself to become a little more sophisticated about what are the opportunities you should go for or avoid? How can you be highly aware of your decision-making processes in the moment? Now, that includes also how can you savor the moment, not be so focused on the past and the future that you miss out on today. So there's ways to help people really be in the present, centered in their experience, and see how can that be of service to them. Then there is the future and our relationship with the future. And here is where coaching, I think, is unique, and you have lots of skills in this area. How do you develop your vision of the future and establish an ideal relationship with your future? Is your future fuzzy? Is it clear? How can you help your clients experience their future in such a way that in everyday life, how much are they driven by the past or pulled forward by the vision of the future? And I think we in our coach training have lots of questions about this and ways to brainstorm how to get closer to that future. So that's C. So we've done physical, environmental, relationships, feeling, effective thinking, continuity, past, present, and future, and then transcendence, T. This is how are all the ways that we can help our clients and, of course, ourselves rise up and transcend the moment to see the full picture in an ego-free, mission-driven way that will serve each of our lives and our purposes and the organizations that we are to help. So there's lots of ways towards transcendence. Some of them are, spirituality. What is your value, your mission, your purpose? How clear are you for what your passion is and your purpose is? And what values are going to be the rudder in the water that will help take you toward where you want to go? But there's lots of ways to transcendence. One that I like is actually humor. I'm sure you've been in situations where suddenly someone says something funny and it just cuts the tension and helps everybody see where they are more clearly. To be able to really find humor in a situation, you have to be able to transcend it. I think love of history is another. Where does this current challenge fit into the big picture? And how can you use mindfulness? How can you use your values, your purpose, the larger ways to transcend the situation? So that's the introduction to the perfect model. What we'll do in another video clip is I'll take you through some of the theory that it comes from, and also some personal examples and how it started in the first place.